All right, magic makers. Today I want to talk about, I'm going to get a little woo woo with you today. And I want to go a little woo woo because I'm in this new certification course and I absolutely love it. It's talking about all of the things that I know are important to you losing your weight. It's important for you to keep the weight off, but it's not a superfood. It's not some magic diet formula or some magic workout formula. It is all the stuff that happens inside your brain, right? And it's called existential health. And when you if you were to Google the word existential, I'm big on uh definition. If you were to Google the word existential, right, it's about your search for meaning. And every human, we have a search for meaning. And it could be just, sitting under a tree being like, what is the meaning of life? It could be something as huge as that, or just like, what am I meant to do in this life? So it can be these huge, really heady things. But at the end of the day, all of us are searching for a sense of meaning and purpose. And, some of us get so wrapped around the axle thinking our meaning and purposes are the size of our body. The meaning and purpose is the how I look, my size, my scale weight. And because you want your life story to have a clear plot, especially when it comes to weight loss. I see so many people get caught up in, I'm supposed to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. And when that doesn't happen, they're like, they lose it. They just absolutely lose it. And either they go harder or they shut down. They're like, sign, I'm just not meant to do it. And here's where like I get that, right? Weight loss isn't linear. And because we want meaning, it's like, why? You drop to the ground and you raise your hands up to the sky. Why? And we also like, there's the magic of beginnings. Beginnings are awesome because there's all this possibilities until you get to the ugly middle, until stuff get hard, until it causes you to step a little bit out of your comfort zone, until you have to make a decision that might be a little hard, a little uncomfortable, that might step on someone's toes, that might ask you to set up a boundary, that might ask you to make you a priority in your life. So as humans, we're driven to solve puzzles, AKA our search for meaning. And, why do you think the true crime genre is so popular? Why do you think, they have all of these like, mystery shows that like, especially like a medical mystery, like Grey's Anatomy, someone comes in with like some mysterious illness and we must solve the puzzle. We watch Law and Order and, we're sitting there, we're looking for like, did the wife do it? Did she have a boyfriend? Like we're trying to solve the puzzle. The same thing happens in our lives. We're trying to figure out this whole thing called weight loss. And it is like, for many, seems like this never ending freaking puzzle. So I ask you, what's your big life question? It can be as big as like, what am I meant to be in this world? Or it could be something simple as like, who am I? Or what am I doing with my life? And what should I be doing with my life? Those questions can sometimes be things that we need to answer so that we can stop spinning our wheels. What's the point of life in a positive way? And, how are things going? And I know that one of my clients, I was like, do you journal? She's had a lot of challenges. I said, do you journal at all? Just to kind of say like, this is what you want in your world. And she's like, no, I don't really like to reflect. And I was like, reflection? No, she doesn't like to ruminate. Reflection is different than ruminating. Reflection is kind of shining the spotlight on past activities so that we can see what didn't work or what did work. And so that we can do more of what worked and less of what didn't. And I know I preach journaling all the time because, if you would have said to me, like, say 6 years ago, Kim, do you journal? I would have laughed in your face. But now journaling is how I work through things, right? Instead of like it all just being up in my head and getting all negative, I can write it out, right? And people ask me, do I go back and read my journals? 99% of the time, no. But there are times that I'm, thinking through something to write on this podcast, thinking through something to work through with a client, thinking through some type of product or program that I want to bring forth into the world. Yeah, I reflect back on that. I reflect back every month and I say, what happened last month? Because I see so many of us kind of just bogging through life and wondering, like, why am I not getting anywhere? Every month I look back in my journal. Typically it's on the first of the month, but usually within the first week of the month. And I say, okay, what did I accomplish? What did I set out to do and what did I accomplish? What's left to do for me? And is it still important for me? Maybe I said, I don't know, I was going to climb Everest. And now I'm like, do I? Do I really want to climb Everest? Right. So it gives me that kind of reset, like, what am I actually working towards? Because I see so many people. And if you work with me privately, I always ask, what's your goal? Because I see so many people working so freaking hard. And I'm like, they don't know. My client Mary, I was like, Mary, what are you working for? She's like, well, I just always go to the gym. I don't know. And it's okay if your goal is just like, I just want to be healthy. Great. It's a goal. But if you're just like going through the motions because you're going through the motions, I want you to really think about, like, what am I trying to accomplish here? Right. My meaning, right? Try to find my meaning. And so when you ask yourself these questions, like the big questions of your why, it's part of what are my 5 C's. And one of my 5 C's is, one, I have to get clear. What is it that I'm trying to achieve? And then 2, how do I connect to it? And people will call it your why. And your why is the meaning. If I am, if this was an algebra problem, I'm trying to solve for X. My why is my X that I'm trying to solve for. It helps me see the bigger picture. It is what drives my motivation. So many times, here are 2 things that I see people always say, like, why they can't achieve their goals. Time, motivation. Your why is your motivation, right? And so when I am motivated, time becomes irrelevant because I can always, when I can see possibilities, I start to see how I can fit things in for my time. So here's why I always ask clients, I'm like, okay, so give me the why behind it, because that's what's going to, I live in New England. And so in February, I go to the gym in the morning. In February, it is highly probable that it's going to be less than 20 degrees outside. There might be snow on the ground. There might be snow falling on the ground. And I need my why to say, Kim, get your booty out of bed. That's what gets my booty out of bed. That's what, if I'm out to dinner and, everyone's like, let's do 4, like extra glasses of wine. That's when I'm like, you know what? Is that glass of wine going to add to my goal or subtract my goal? And I'm able to ask myself those types of questions. So that's where I want you to be, to get to that point that we ask these existential questions so that we can always see our bigger picture and make better decisions, because we are always driving towards what our goal is. Now, you could also say, you know what? I'm out to have a good time tonight and I'm going to be okay with it. That is also a huge existential mindset shift, because I want you to make a decision from power versus from weakness, so that, say today you went out and you had that extra glass of wine. The next day, you want to be able to wake up and be like, hey, it happened. I own my stuff. I'm moving on now, and be good with it. And, if you've, again, followed me for a long time, I'm a big fan. Own your stuff. It's okay. You don't have to, when I see on the interwebs, I've given up sugar and carbs and love and fun, and I'm pretty much going to lock myself into a room with celery and sparkling water. I'm like, good luck with that, right? Because at some point you're going to chew down that damn door and you're going to be like a drunken sailor on shore leave. No offense to sailors, pretty much anyone can do that. So that's where I want you to think about, right? If I want my bigger question to be, and it's not, my bigger question is, I want to live a life of restriction. Now, if you want to live that life of restriction, rock on with your bad self, but I don't think anyone can go that long. I mean, I think maybe if you're like a monk and you take a vow of silence, and even then, you have to be that person. And I don't know many people who are those people. So what does connection mean for you? Do you ask yourself these big questions or do you just flow through life? And that's okay, but I just have to ask, if you always are that person who feels like I start and I don't finish, you got to start asking yourself better questions. My boyfriend, Tony Robbins, he always says, if I want something new in life, I got to ask myself better questions. And, many women get stuck here when it comes to weight loss because they're always trying to juggle 500 things. We scroll on social media. I must, have this many carbs and protein and avoid soy and have nut milk and then have this and have that. And so you're just like, all these choices are coming at you and you just don't know which end is up. And you're just like, I got to do them all because I can't choose. There's too many. And for years, I've been preaching, you gotta narrow it down to what is realistic for you right now in your life, right? That also you could be excited about. I mean, if I told you no sugar, are you excited about that? As we're recording this, I'm drinking coffee, and in my coffee, I have sugar and I have real dairy cream in my sugar. This brings me joy. It brings me joy. And even when I was at my peak of competing, that was the one for me, my one non-negotiable. I would do everything you said, except for give up my cup of coffee. Now, did I scale it back? Yeah, I would have 2 cups of coffee. That was it with cream and sugar. And then any other cup of coffee that I had after that, I typically had it black. So I modified, but I didn't give it up. So here's why I'm talking about this. I always ask my clients to come up with non-negotiables. And these are healthy things that you currently aren't doing, right? Or at least you're not doing consistently. That that if, I brush my teeth at night and I say, okay, Kim, how did I do today? And when I brush my teeth, I want to be able, and this is constructive criticism. This isn't an invite to go 30 rounds with yourself. This is a constructive insight, but you know what? I bailed 5 minutes on the treadmill. You know what? Next time I go on the treadmill, I'm going to finish out the full 20 minutes I'm on the treadmill. Or, I miss my grams of vegetables. I want to make sure that tomorrow I get on top of my grams of vegetables, right? So I started, it's an invitation of questions of like, how did I do? And some days I'm like, nailed it. Other days I'm like, I could have been a little, today was a C plus. And then I'm like, okay, what can I do better? Right. It's always constructive. It's like, how can I improve my actions? And then, it's like reflecting on like what happened, and it was like, I didn't think it would take me this long. And if things start to become a pattern, I'm like, okay, I got to stop underestimating how much time something is going to take me. Right. So it's more of like a self-coaching, more of a self-coaching thing. So I talk about this 1 to 3 non-negotiables, and you, and you also know what time you are in your life. And I always talk about seasons. For some of us, we have very busy seasons in our life. And so we have to own that, right? Pick that pace and make peace with it. And so, I've shared this because it's a very practical example. I have a client, her son is a elite basketball player. So during basketball season, she ain't got time for a lot of things. So I'm like, okay, so maybe she can't do all 3, but maybe she can focus on one. Then, I have a client who is a tax accountant. She's heads down trying to get everyone's taxes, into the IRS before the deadline. She can't think about too many things. So I'm like 1 to 3. So what does that look like? 1 to 3. So for a long time, this was my non-negotiable. Eat a big ass salad every day. Why? That helps me to get 400 to 800 grams of vegetables in every single day by having that big ass salad. Move my body at least 30 minutes a day. So did you notice I said move? So I move my body at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. So that gives me the flexibility that sometimes it is an actual workout. Sometimes it's a walk, but then I refine it and I'm like, at least 3 of those days, it should be, if at least 3 of those days, make it a strength training workout. Like that's my non-negotiable. And then my last one is 7 hours of sleep. That's it. And I know I picked those specifically because I know no matter where I am on the planet, if I'm traveling, I can hit those 3, right? I can go anywhere. I was in the middle of freaking Russia and I was able to get a salad. Right. I know that anywhere on the planet, I can go to McDonald's and I actually know, you know what? McDonald's doesn't sell salad anymore. Isn't that sad? Anyway, but I know that I can find I can find something to eat that works within those three things in a 24-hour period of time. So I want you to start thinking about that. Like, what are 1 to 3, non-negotiables? Now, if it's something that you're already doing, then it's not a non-negotiable. You're already freaking doing it. But it's like, think about like, what is, again, my why, and then how can I pick, 1 to 3 things that feel a little bit challenging right now, but are doable, right? That are realistic for me, that I'm excited about doing it so that it becomes a habit. It gets into my routine. And eventually that's what's going to give me the results I'm looking for. It's the consistency. That's where I'm looking at. And the same thing can happen for non-negotiables. Like if I am ever, I'm working a new program right now. It's called Metabolic Recharge, and we are going to cycle through different nutrition protocols to help boost our metabolism. And I asked the girls, I was like, what's 1 to 3 things that you're like, no, I'm not going to give up. For me, it's coffee, right? I'm not going to not have cream and sugar in my coffee, like at least for 2 cups. Like after that, I'm like, yeah, I can figure something out. First 2 cups brings me joy, makes me happy. I have a client who she has 1 to 2 pieces of Lindt chocolate every day. Great, not going to touch that. We're going to figure out how to make it work. So think about what are some of the things that you like to have regularly so that we can say, all right, how do we make this work? Because I'm sure it's like, I would think about it as like a negotiation. That's it. Negotiation. Because I'm sure there's some things that you're like, I don't really care much about that. But that I care about. Like my coffee, I'll fight you over my coffee. But anything else, like, I can give or take that, right? So that's where I really want you to start thinking about that. And when you start to feel start to feel yourself, start to feel like, oh my God, why am I doing this? This is hard. Or you feel like, you know what, I'm just going to give up. You go back to your why. Your why is like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. Right. For me, and your why doesn't have to be altruistic. It doesn't have to be like, I want to make world peace. Your why could be like, you know what? I'm sick of not buttoning my pants. I'm sick of sitting in my chair and my button is digging into my belly button. I'm sick of not being able to wear these beautiful clothes that I've spent goo gobs of money on because they just don't go over my butt. Right. It's okay for you to have those kind of thoughts. I mean, like I don't have a lot of altruistic thoughts. My ultimate reason why I was trying to like lose all the weight that I was losing was because I was like, I didn't like how I looked in the mirror. And I was just like, I don't like this. And, this past weekend, I went out to dinner with my husband and I put on a pair of pants that I haven't worn in 5 years. I would felt like Beyonce on stage. The only thing I was missing was the wind machine going through my hair. But I was just like, I felt like the queen of freaking Sheba. And I know that's what you want to feel like. You want to be able to go in that gosh darn closet and pick up anything you want to wear. And you want to feel like the biggest Beyonce out there. Being out your inner Sasha Fierce. So here's the other piece. Like find someone you admire. And, now here's where I'm like, it's just because Sally Sue does something doesn't mean you're going to get the same results. But I want you to look at the ethic, right? What are the things that she consistently do? Is it like, I consistently take fat burners? No, right? If I consistently starve myself? No, like look at someone who like, embodies what you want to do. And for me, I would look at single mothers and I would be like, you know what? If a single mom can figure out how to go to the gym, I got no kids. I can figure out how to go to the gym. All right. If a single mom could do it, I could do it. And so that's how I would start to think about it. Right. It's not like, I hate those videos where it's like, this is what I eat in a day. There was a woman that I used to admire, and this is well before social media. I used to admire her. And then I saw her, you would only see her in magazines on season, and Oxygen magazine back in the day was my like Bible. And you would only see her on season and she'd be like, this is what I eat in a day. And then I saw her off season. There was no magazine covers, there was nothing. And I was like someone had ripped the curtain and it was like the Wizard of Oz. And I was like, oh, it is not this big, hairy, scary man. It is just this little guy with a big voice. That's how it was for me. And that was the first time I was like, you know what? Everything I read in a magazine isn't true. I mean, other than People magazine, that's all true. But do you know what I'm saying? So like there's a lot of times you see on the socials, this is what I eat in a day. And you're like, "Oh, that's what I'm gonna eat in a day. And I'm gonna look just like her." Most of those chicks who are like, this is what I eat in a day, they are naturally gifted. They are genetically gifted. God love them. And so even if I eat that, I'm never gonna have their physique because we don't have the same parents. And even if they think about if you have brothers and sisters, we all look so different. My sister eats whatever she wants and doesn't gain an ounce. I I walk past food because I beat my metabolism into submission. It's like, girlfriend, I ain't giving you nothing. You took advantage of having a great metabolism, and now you got to pay the piper. So if any of you feel that way, I am right there with you, my love. So as we do this, right, we have to be flexible with our approach. And I did a podcast about stop being 30. So many of us reach back and like, oh, hang on, let me pull this off the shelf and do this because it worked. But I have to ask you, why did you stop doing it? For many of my clients, when they tell me, oh, I'm going to go back to doing whatever it was they were doing, I was like, why'd you stop doing it? And they're like, that's an interesting question. You stopped doing it because it got hard. You stopped doing it because you couldn't make time for it. You stopped doing it because it stopped being realistic for your damn life. You stopped doing it because it was no longer sustainable. That's why you stopped doing it, because your reps didn't work, right? Your reps have to be in alignment for anything to work. Your reps it has to be realistic. You have to be excited about it. You have to be able to make a plan for it in your life. And for the love of God, it has to be sustainable more than 30 days, right? You have to look at it and say, you know what? I can see myself doing this for the next 3 years. Great. Rock on with your bad stuff. I'm right behind you. How do I help? How do I support? So we have to be flexible with our approach so that we know that when things start to not work, all right, what are the dials that I need to tweak in this, right? If I'm doing something and I'm hungry, how do I eat more but not go in a crazy way? If I'm low energy, how do I add my energy without, hooking up an IV of caffeine? If I am craving, how do I deal with that? So we know how to tweak our buttons. And as I coach, these are the things I always ask my clients. Like I will always ask the question: hunger, energy, craving, hunger, energy, craving, because that tells me something is not right. Something is amiss. The other piece of it is journaling. And, do I have to food log every week? No. But if something's not working, for the love of God, yes, you have to food log, because your food will always tell you what's going on. Your food will always tell you what's going on. If I'm trying to build muscle, yep, you better log. When was the last time you increased your shoulder press? When was the last time you increased your squat? Because that'll tell me what's going on. It'll also tell me, like, maybe you just have stayed at the same weight for God knows how long, right? There has to be some type of log, some type of journal. And so journaling is both food, weight, but it's also, mindset. Like, what is going on all up in your noggin? And so here are some prompts to help you when it comes to the noggin work. That's a really scientific term that I throw out there for you. So here are the prompts. I consider myself a insert the blank kind of person. I am a insert the blank. And then the last one is people who know me well would describe me as a blank. Now, you can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. And I think that's what stops so many of us. What if I get it wrong? You can't get this wrong. You can't screw it up. You're describing you and how you identify. And identity is such a huge piece of the weight loss, because if I identify myself as someone who is an exerciser, I identify myself as someone who goes to the gym, and then for some reason I don't, for those of you who might be coming up an ex-athlete. I'm an ex-competitor. And when I stopped competing, I was like, I didn't know how to be a regular person in the gym. Like, what do regular people do? Like, you come here and you're not driving towards a show. Like, what do you do? Like, how does this work? And so I want you to start to think about, and then like, everyone knew I did it for 9 years. So that's what I did. Everyone knew that I was a fitness competitor. And so then it was like, I projected what I thought others were looking at me. Like if I was going to the gym and I just was having like, if you've listened to my podcast about a red, yellow, or green day, I was having a green day and I was just, a yellow day. And I was just kind of like, going through the motions. I was like, oh my God, they're going to judge. They're going to judge that I'm not like lifting like a beast. They're going to judge. And it was like all the cuckoo for Cocoa Puff stuff that was going on in my noggin. So, that's why we journal. It helps us to redefine our stories. It helps us to just understand a point in time, what's happening so that we can make better future decisions. And I want to leave you with this concept, right? So as I started the show off, is that I'm working through this new certification. It's all about restoration, recovery. It's fabulous, and I can't wait to share it all with you when I get through. But there's a concept called Igai, and I'm totally could be butchering it. It's spelled Ikigi, Igai, Eigi, and it is loosely your reason for being. It's Japanese for reason for being, and it's what brings you joy. And I remember someone asked me that, like, Kim, what brings you joy? And I was like, I was stuck. I was like, and I said to myself, you know what? Originally, yes, I love going to the gym. I love moving my body. That's one of the things that brings me joy. But I was like, you know what? I want to have things outside of the gym that bring me joy. And so I challenge you, like, ask yourself that question, what brings you joy? And if it's like going to the gym and eating chicken and broccoli, great. However, I want you to expand. Like, what else brings you joy? Like, what else brings you joy is, I just was outside in, I don't like to date these, but I'm going to date it right now. It's springtime, and so I love like going out and just seeing all of the different plants in my garden come to life. Like, that just brings me joy. That it just shows me, it just reminds me that we all have our season, right? We all have our time when it's time for me to bloom, and there's some things that are starting to green up faster than others, and I just absolutely that absolutely brings me joy. Sitting on a beach brings me joy. So I was like, you know what? I do have more things in my life other than the gym. And I want you to start thinking about that. Do I have more things other than in my life? But on the opposite side, I I know that it just sounds a little like a dichotomy, but you can also find the joy in the suck. And it's so in the suck, it's a lesson. It's asking you to lean in your fear. A lot of times when I am starting a program and people are like, oh, Kim, it sounds amazing, I really want to do it, but I've disappointed myself before. I just can't. And I said, and then I say, you got to lean into the fear. You have to think about what didn't work, right? What was the lesson? Was it my reps? Did I not define my connection point? Was I not clear about what I was looking to achieve? Or was my expectations out of whack? Some of us think, I'm going to start this program and it's going to fix me. And all I have to do is just put down my credit card and I don't have to do the work. But if you sit back and you're like, I'm in the program and I don't got to do bo diddly rongo badongo, you got to do the work. And sometimes it's that messy middle that like you got to lean into the suck, that you're just like, I don't want to, it's too sucky, it's too scary. So I really want you to think about like why is it that you've been feeling? Because is it when things get hard, you throw it by the wayside? Have I set my non-negotiables too high and they're really like more like wish to haves versus must haves? Because this anagi is from the Japanese culture, and in Japan, for the most part, they're crushing the aging process. They're living, easily in their hundreds, still have their mental faculties with them, still are very active, and none of it is about eating some freaking superfood. They're not vegans. Japanese, they eat a lot of most of them eat a lot of at least fish, but they're eating a lot of animal proteins. So they have this, so the Japanese, like I said, have this highest rate of longevity. And that's what we're all chasing, right? We're all chasing, like, can I make it to 90? My grandma's 100 years old. And I bet you sweet bottom, she's not like, oh my God, what did I eat today? Right? She's probably like, did I eat today? My grandmother, for the most part, spends most of her life like caring about other people, even still to this day. So it's like, as I'm wrapping up this call, if you noticed, that the Japanese are more about like their thing is like what brings me joy, right? What brings me meaning, what brings me purpose. They're not like, did I go to Whole Foods and buy the most organic superfood that I can? Was it how many hours of a workout can I get done? It was all about joy. And so I want to ask, like, do I have joy in my life? Am I doing things that bring me joy? Because that's where if I feel more joyful, I might feel more adventurous when it comes to changing my thoughts about what brings me health and fitness. So health is an inside job as much as an outside job, just as they say, nutrition is queen and workouts are king. I feel like the same thing, that it is the mindset is the princess, that, the king and the queen, they take care of the little baby. They both come together and they take care of the little baby. And that is your mindset. So ladies, fitness is an inside job. Let's break up. Really, let's start to break up with the organic this and the organic that, and really dive, take a big nosedive into, am I happy? Is what I'm doing in my life bringing me joy? As we, in Rona times, it's the big resignation, right? A lot of people are like, you know what? My job don't bring me joy. And here's where you're like, yes, I am finally looking for that freaking joy in my life. And it could be joy for your job, but I'm hoping that it's joy for your health, right? What makes me not only mentally healthy, but physically healthy as well, and nutritionally healthy as well. All right. I would love to hear how this is landing with you. So do me a favor, screenshot this and let me know if this opened any like mind doors for you. All right, ladies, have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you next week.